Hi, I just thought I'd make a quick video of a bit of an issue I've had with my Rover 25. Basically, it started to develop a water leak, which started off as just a drip, sort of drip every 20 seconds. It got a little bit worse, lost a bit of water from the header tank, which I was able to top up. Got a little bit worse, and it then started to be quite a flow, and the water level in the header tank was dropping at quite a considerable rate. You could leave the car parked, you come back to it, and the header tank was empty, and there'll be a puddle of water underneath the car. Now, it was a bit difficult to work out where it was actually coming from. It seemed to be dripping off the bottom of the engine, sort of around this area. Sort of scouting up through from underneath. You could sort of see it dripping down the actual engine block and everything, tracking along and then dripping on the floor. So it was actually quite difficult to work out where it was actually coming from. Now I've possibly gone a bit far with this video or with this actual bit of work already before thinking it might be useful to actually record this and sort of show other people. Basically, the problem was the thermostat housing. Now, initially when it was diagnosed actually by a garage, obviously stuck on the ramp, they said it looks like it's seeping from the thermostat housing where it goes into the actual engine block. Now the thermostat housing is down sort of here. I've actually got it removed at the moment, but I'll try and show you where it actually came from. And they thought it was just a seal on the O-ring seal where the thermostat housing mates into the actual engine, or maybe on the seal where it comes out and goes into one of the metal coolant pipes. Now, like I say, I've actually got the thermostat having off because it got to the point where actually it was a constant flow of water underneath the car. I didn't feel it was actually safe to try and get this back to the garage. And so I thought, right, I'll see if I can work out where it actually is coming from to make sure I know which parts to actually order. So basically, here's a fending item. Now, as you can see at one end, that's one of the O-ring seals, and that end pushes into a flared pipe, which is one of the main coolant pipes that goes down behind the engine, comes along, and it's the one that basically comes to that pipe, which the bottom hose of the radiator connects to. So I've just got that one loosened off a bit at the moment and actually done that just to make it easier to get to. Now I've actually also removed the air filter housing at the moment because it makes it a little bit easier to get out of these pipes and actually undo things. So that's where I thought it was originally. But actually, once I'd removed it from the engine and finally got the thing out of the flange pipe, one interesting word of advice here. This bolts into the engine via one bolt. So this is sort of underneath certainly on my car, the VVC cover, and it's down. If I get the torch, it's down. You might be see sort of what I'm trying to light. There's sort of a diagonal strut that supports the underside of there. It's actually sort of fitted down just under there. Now it has a single bolt hole there. So this end, you see there, pushes into the engine. That end is connected to the flange pipe, and it sort of bolts basically like that, but underneath. And then that pipe is the one down here, which is the one that goes with the Saab valve in it that goes into sort of the main body of the car and everything for the heater matrix. So yeah, that's what I extracted. Yeah, like I say, the bit of advice here is before you unbolt this from the engine, loosen off the metal pipe, for which, if you go under the car, which I'll try and show you. Okay, just underneath the engine, underneath the car element. I'm going to try and show you where the coolant rail connects. It's coolant rail, which connects to the actual thermostat housing, is the dark pipe up there. Get my hands in. That's impossible, this is, it really is. Okay, get that hand in. So that is coolant rail pipe. To the right is where it connects into the thermostat housing, and to the left is where it goes for the thing. So that is one of the bolt areas. So that hole there. Apologies, this isn't entirely in focus underneath here. So that's one of them, which obviously bolts into there. And there's another one. Where's the other one? Up here. There's another one which may only be able to see it down there. So that bolts into there. So these two are. Come on, focus. Focus, you devil. No, it's not going to do, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. So that one also bolts there. So these two are much more easily done from underneath there. So these two are much more easily done. You can loosen it, and I think you might just be able to see. That's the flanged end, which the one end of the thermostat housing pushes into. That is really, really tight. Like I say, it's much better if you can get that undone, or leave it bolted to the engine and then pull this pipe away from the thermostat housing. The thermostat bolted to the engine block, loosen the two bolts on the pipe, and then from this end of the engine, like I say, remove the air filter box, remove the pipe from here. You can also take some of the electricals that get clipped to the pipe as well. There's one that gets clipped to that sort of mounting point there. But then pull that pipe from this end with the thermostat holding held still against the engine itself. Because like I say, it's a flared pipe, and so it's quite a tight interference fit. And if you actually remove this guy from the engine, you can't get your hand over there and pull it from over here to separate the two. So once you've got that metal pipe disconnected from the actual thermostat housing at that end, you can then get this guy out just by undoing one bolt. The bolt tends to sit on this car. It also connects, or actually there's a bracket that holds the dipstick tube as well. You just have to unbolt at the same time. And then you can remove this. Like I say, I'm sorry that I didn't get this bit on video, but the thing is difficult to see, but down there somewhere. So when I removed this from the engine, I thought, oh, okay, well, the O-ring at the other end had sort of come off, and I managed to sort of get that out of the engine itself. And I was looking at it, I thought, well, actually, where does the O-ring on the right-hand side of this seat as it goes to the engine? And I realised that, well, it doesn't, because actually that end has sheared off. And that was basically the problem. It wasn't the O-ring seal that was leaking, it was the fact that the whole thermostat housing, the piece that goes into the actual engine, had sheared off. It was obviously just in enough at the time to only be a drip, but it got worse, and in fact there is the piece that sheared off. So that would, in the end, so just stick it back like that, that will give you your sort of your flange, or your area where your rubber grommet would have gone previously, but that's sheared off. And that wasn't from me actually removing it from the engine, that was actually just how it was. Problem with that was it had actually left this bit inside the engine inlet down there, or the water inlet into the engine. So that wasn't a particularly easy thing to do to get out. A bit of bent wire, stiff wire was a bit of a help there, as was fingertips, but that was ultimately the problem. So if you get a leak from underneath, it could be something as simple as the O-ring seals, or a pipe, but it could be equally well the whole housing has failed. So basically I've got a replacement one of these that I'll now try and fit. So that I will try and film and show you how it is. I don't know how easy it's going to be, because obviously it's a terribly difficult thing to actually get at down here. This is really not made easy. Certainly from the top you can just about reach things if you move some of the pipes a bit out of the way. underneath, to be honest, even though I've got the car up on bricks and an axle stand as high as I can make it easily, there still really isn't enough room underneath here to swing a spanner or a wrench or anything like that, and it does make it very difficult. Now, if I dip this into the engine compartment, it might pick out where this actually came from. There. That opening you can see there. So just below that sort of strut, the on mine is just below the strut. So just below that sort of strut, the on mine is just below the strut. Opening there is where it goes into, basically. So that that's that bolt hole just trying to highlight there with the light. That's basically where just trying to highlight there with the light. That's like basically where you can actually get out with a bit of feeling. You can get out to the bolt where this actually connects to the engine from above. The other ones holding the sort of the bottom pipe, the metal pipe, is easier to get out from underneath actually. So you can do that there. Now I'm actually also going to replace, while I'm at it, a couple of the pipes in this car. The front top hose on the radiator, it's where it sort of joins there, the sort of join on bit is a little bit, it seems to be almost intact, but it's sort of bulging here. Obviously that clamp has sort of started to break it a bit, and we're down to some of the webbing layer, and also the heater matrix hose at the back here, it's gone a bit yuck. There we go. It's gone a bit disgusting. Unfortunately, my car did a number of years ago have a head gasket go, which put a lot of oil into the water. And I think since then it's sort of been gradually seeping through. So this keeps going out of focus. It gradually seeps through the pipes, and the pipes have ended up being sort of a bit. I've got some sort of skin disease almost. It's sort of, yeah. I carry on doing the heater stuff this morning, or the coolant stuff this morning. I've got all the parts. I've got a replacement top hose, I've got a replacement heater matrix hose, this one, and I've got the thermostat housing I showed you today. Now to get these off, this pipe just pushes on there with a sort of a spring clip, so you just need to get a pair of pliers either side of that. It connects to the engine here just with a Jubilee clip, so you just need a little small socket like that, or a screwdriver. I find the sockets are better than the screwdrivers because they quite often jump on the actual heads. And then again it just snakes round, and it's another spring clip type arrangement here where you just need to get a pair of pliers either side of it. It also heads off towards the header tank over here, and again that's another just clip you just spring together and remove that. The other thing I'm going to take is the heater matrix pipe, or this one here. I think it's the heater matrix one. This one had suffered quite badly from, I say, where I did actually have a head gasket going on, oil leak into the coolant, so it's all sort of a bit yuck and looks a bit blistered and everything. So I'm going to replace that one. Again, this end was down in the engine down there, and that was the one that connected to the back of the thermostat housing. So again, that's just a Jubilee clip. I think that one was accessible from above, if I remember rightly, and it connects. The pipes connect here again with the Jubilee clip, so that can be fairly easy taken off, and another one just down there, and all that one gunk down here. There's one there, and then the other end of the pipe snakes off. Let's go round. Snakes off round here, past the engine, and comes in here. It's not too bright. And again, there's another Jubilee clip there. So I shall take all those off. I think, as I might explain before, I've taken the Jubilee clip off here, off the metal sort of common rail for the coolant. That just made it easier to pull this pipe out of the thermostat housing, which was obviously down here. So I've got that one to remove, and probably can't see it, but you might just be able to see. Nah, get it. Down there is effectively the open flanged end. So yeah, I'll do all that and I'll get back to you. All the pipes out now, so I've removed them all. I've left the short pipe that goes from the heater matrix sort of valve turns on and off inside the controls in the car. Left that short pipe's okay, but I've removed the pipe from there, just a Jubilee clip. So I've removed all that pipe back to the radiator and removed the top. Now the bottom hose I've just disconnected for now. So I removed the pipe that goes there, and yeah, I've left everything else otherwise in. I've actually just removed the header tank for now because I just want to give that a bit of a clean out, so that was easier done now than doing it again later. So now really it's a case of putting things back. Now I've got all the new parts. So as I had before, there's the Coolant thermostat housing. So I've got a new part here. Now I actually got all these parts from Rover Brothers. It's not advertising particularly, but they were actually very good. They checked out all the correct items for me against the VIN number of the car. So there you go, that's the new one, which it's an aftermarket one. There we go. But to be honest, that's good enough. We've got two other seals either end and a thermostat in there. Now this is the heater matrix hose. As you can see, it's I think that sort of stub end used to be sort of welded or something onto there, just keep the pipe together. As you can see, it's gone really disgusting, and like I say, it's like it's got some sort of skin disease. It's gone virtually revolting. So that one's all out. Now the replacement for that is actually slightly different. I'll grab it here. I'll take it out of the bag in a moment. Hold on, I'll take it out of the bag now. So there we go, out of the bag. Like I say, it is very slightly different. Basically all the pipes do go to the same place, although they look a bit bent in different directions at the moment. But the interesting addition is this little guy down here, which isn't in the original. So that's the pipe that goes to thermostat housing, which would have been this one on this pipe, the original, and it's actually got an extra little valve in it. Now I think this on the website was described as with a Saab valve. I must admit I assume the Saab valve was in there, but I think that is just a joining piece, I'm not sure. So I'm not entirely sure what that bit actually does. It looks like it almost provides a bit of a bypass, because I think what it's doing is this is the path that would normally have gone to the side of the engine, and now this path actually again comes through here down, and it would have sort of bent there and gone round to the engine as it was there, but it's now got this pipe, this little valve in it. So I'm not sure if this is something to bypass the thermostat, if the thermostat sticks or something. I don't know if anybody actually knows what the Saab valve actually did in these. I'd be quite interested to know. But it is the correct one, according to Rover Brothers off their site. I think it did actually note that some of the earlier ones did not necessarily have the Saab valve fitted. So it could just be one of these things that, yeah, during the actual age of the car, I think mine was one of the early 25s, yeah, they do change things, they do slightly adjust actually what they look like. Similarly, with the top hose, the radiator. So my top hose, the radiator, has got a sort of a fairly straight T on it, whereas the new one has got more of a little angled one. Now I must admit there was one on, apart from that everything else is actually basically the same direction. I'd say it's still a bit kinked in the wrong way at the moment just because of the way it's just come out of the bag. Again, I did check, there was another one on their website that looked a little bit more like that one. but it wasn't designated for cars with air conditioning, which mine's got. So again, it could well have been, you know, a modification over time, and maybe this joint was found to be prone to splitting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start to fit them again. I'm going to initially fit, excuse the jumping on that, I don't know why I did that. Initially fit the thermostat housing. What I might do is put a little bit of silicone grease I've got for domestic plumbing just on the O-ring to make it easier to actually slide in. I have cleaned both the flanged pipe and the entry into the pump, coolant pump on the engine, which is with a cloth. Just make sure there's no sort of debris in there, no sort of rust or other stuff that might damage the O-rings as they go in, or make it difficult to slip them in. But given it was a bit of a devil to get out, this one, I think I might just put a little bit of grease on it. It shouldn't have any effect on the actual thing, and if I only put it on the outside, the actual seals, it should slide in. Like I say, it's the sort of stuff you use for domestic water, so it's good to a decent temperature, and it just makes things slide in a bit easier. So I should put this in. It's probably going to be quite difficult to actually show you actually doing this because it's right down the back of the engine. Virtually impossible to get my hands down there, and I certainly won't be able to get the camera down there. So I'll try and show you some other bits as I do them or before I do them. Right, I've got the thermostat housing back in now, as you can see there, and I've managed to push the sort of bottom metal distribution pipe back onto the other end. I did actually end up having to bend the dipstick tube a bit. Obviously, as I was taking the old pump out, or the old thermostat out, and obviously bent it a little bit, and so that top bolt you can see about the centre picture, that goes through the dipstick tube, or the mounting point for it, and that was sort of way off the bolt hole, so that took a bit of carefully bending back. I just stuck a screwdriver down the dipstick tube and just gently eased it back into where it should be. So that's now back in place and all bolted up, and that bottom pipe is pushed in as far as I can get it, so that seems to be quite good. So I should go underneath the car now and just secure, we can't see it from above actually, secure the bolts that actually hold that bottom tube on, and then we can go back round to this side and actually then start connecting the bottom hose back to that pipe again, and put some electrical mount points back on there, things like that. That's the bleed screw if you're interested. It's worth trying to slacken that off while you've got a bit of space in here, because it is quite, well, it was certainly tight when I tried slacking off anyway. So I should start putting that lot back together, get that bottom hose back on, and I can start putting the top hose on, which I've still got everything off now, ready for, and I will put the hose back on the back there to the heater matrix. Thermostat is now fully bolted to the engine again, and the sort of column pipe along the bottom is all now bolted back. So that's all quite nice. You may need to have, I just found you had to adjust how far that pipe pushed into, or that flange pipe pushed onto the actual thermostat housing, just to make sure all the bolts are aligned for actually fixing that pipe. So now I'm going to put the top hose back on. So I've sort of laid it out. So it's going to go there. So I've kept obviously the old Jubilee clips that seem okay. That just lays along here. Going to go into the top of the radiator there. The pipe seems to be a bit thinner than the original. It doesn't quite sit as snugly in the sort of clips on the engine as it did before. So I might just have to put something, perhaps a bit of wire or something around these just to tighten them up a bit, or I don't know, maybe a plastic tie clip. Then that's going to go onto that pipe there, and I've kept the sort of spring clip on that. It's going to snake around there. It'll sit in there. Again, it's a little bit small for it. Actually, what I might do is I might take a bit of the old pipe and just chop it up and slip it as almost as like a sleeve over the top of it. So that might be the easiest way to do it. And then I'll connect that back onto the header tank. I got that bit done. So I'll do this bit first, and then we'll do all those clips, tighten the Jubilee clips up, and I'll show you doing the pipe at the back. It's loosely laid in the pipe to the heater matrix and to the thermostat, so it's just loosely put there. So that end will connect onto that part of it. The other end goes just underneath this pipe, so it's that pipe just under there, and we go onto the heater matrix, either inlet or outlet, I'm not quite sure which one that is. Down there with a white label, you can just about see the SARB valve, and further down there, that's a white sort of bar mark. That is basically the mark on the pipe to show you where to push it into the thermostat housing there. And then that obviously snakes round down there and comes out here. That'll clip onto the pipe there and into the engine there. So as I need both hands for that, I will get those things clipped up, put the Jubilee clips back on, and I'll show you what it looks like after that. Back screwed together again. So we've got the pipe onto the water, so the thermostat housing down there. It's connected back into the heater matrix, and I've also connected around pipe from the top hose back to the header tank. I'm probably going to give that a bit of a clean out in a bit. This other pipe, just move the filter away. It comes around here. You might need to route it past some of the other pipes, and then it clips to the main metal pipe, the sort of coolant one we fitted earlier, and into the engine. So yeah, that's all back together. I've put all the electrics back. I've moved out of the way just to make life easier. I'm just going to put a bit of water in the header tank, try and fill up the actual coolant system. I'm going to run it for a bit just to make sure there are no leaks from any of the pipes. And then I'm actually going to put a degreasing flush through. I've got some is it wings? So look. Yeah, I've got some of this. I thought, yeah, there is a little bit of oil residue in the coolant. Hopefully from when the previous head gasket went, not from this time. That's the hope anyway. But yeah, hopefully I'll just clear that out, make the radiator a little bit more efficient, all this sort of stuff. And yeah, so I'll put some water in, run it up for about 20 minutes, just let it run for idle. Make sure everything's sort of opening up all the valves. I think suggest you put the heater, the internal cabin heater on full, and sort of get the heat up, so make sure the water goes around through that path, and yeah, just check for leaks. And hopefully that will solve my problem. The engine up on idle at the moment. Got the heater matrix on full. Got hot air going into the cabin at the moment. And the top hose is nice and warm. Bottom hose still quite cold, so it doesn't look as if the actual thermostat is actually opened yet. So just let it get up to temperature. I filled the head of the expansion tank up. Although when the thermostat opens, that may well drop. I may have to just top that up a bit more. Just sort of checking for any leaks that might be coming from any of the actual Jubilee clips or the other mountings. Nothing so far. And the engine's sort of getting to... she's creeping up to where she would normally be. Okay, a couple of weeks have passed now. I've driven the car quite a bit. I've checked all the pipe work for any leaks. Checked for drop of water in the coolant in the header tank. I've also checked it seems to be quite clear, so I think I caught it before it caused any damage to the engine from the overheating or the loss of water. So that's all good. The cabin temperature seems okay. We've got the heater on. The last job I've therefore done is I've flushed all the water out of the system, and I've refilled it with some deionized water. Or actually it's water I've put through a reverse osmosis filter. The only reason I did that was that we got pretty hard water around here. I just wanted to reduce the amount of sort of scale and hardness that is likely to clog up the engine itself or clog up the radiator and things like that. And I've also put some antifreeze in the actual header tank or in the actual coolant system, so it should be good for the winter. So yeah, that's a job hopefully well done. If you found this useful, that's great. Leave any comments below, and thank you.